Welcome back to Hustle to Holdings, where we explore how people turn hustle into long-term ownership. Today's guest brings a completely different but critical perspective to real estate, the power of brand storytelling and community. He's a marketing professional and entrepreneur who builds brands, drives revenue, and creates communities across real estate, hospitality, sports, and entrepreneurship. He currently serves as the copywriter and content specialist at Peak Multifamily, one of the nation's largest multifamily real estate education platforms, where he's helped craft campaigns, driving mentorship enrollments, and seven-figure event ticket sales. He also co-founded a boutique investment firm focused on luxury hotels and eco-hospitality in Latin America, where he leads deal sourcing, investor relations, and market positioning across the United States and Latin American markets. This episode is about how brand, trust, and storytelling directly translate to the ownership and opportunity of real estate investing. Well, welcome to Hustle to Holdings.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the intro. Sounds a lot better when you say it.
Of course. And no, I was looking into your background, and honestly, I come from a marketing background as well. And specifically on the boutique hospitality aspect of the business, marketing is a big thing compared to branded hotels, because branded hotels already have their marketing in place. So I wanted to just get to know a little bit about your perspective, how you've upgraded into boutique hotel investing, and how you handle your marketing. But before all of that, let's talk about what you did before your mind even got into real estate.
Yeah, so before my mind got into real estate, that was a large part of my life because I didn't get into real estate till about 3 years ago before I took on this role as copywriter, content specialist for Peak Multifamily. Uh, I had no interest in real estate. I was living my life. I was working as a marketer in professional sports. I would like to say I was a professional ski bum before that in Utah. That was great, good time. I was living in Utah for a little bit, and soccer and sports was my passion. I got to work for Real Salt Lake, the MLS soccer team in Utah. I worked for the Utah Royals FC, which was the women's team. So that was an amazing experience. I got to meet heroes, legends of the game, to be on the most professional stage within that you have here in the U.S. as far as soccer goes was a dream come true. And then COVID came, changed a lot of things around, and then I got this job with Peak Multifamily, and I got to learn about multifamily real estate and commercial real estate, which opened the door to boutique hotel investing. And with having a strong foundation into Latin America, with it being such an adventurous experience type of location for tourists and just travelers and locals alike, uh, and what I love to do, that's what I wanted to provide, was a place for adventurers and thrill seekers, people looking for experiences,
Hmm.
to come stay at my hotel, future hotels and whatnot, to provide that experience.
Okay, that's amazing. Let's touch up on, so how did you got introduced through real estate investing towards your current company, correct?
Correct.
And what do they focus on mainly?
So Peak Multifamily, we focus on multifamily real estate, apartment
Okay.
investing, large
Mm.
scale apartment investing. Our target. Well, not, I don't say our target, but we teach our network how to invest, and employ them with every tool that they need to invest into large scale multifamily apartments,
Mm.
ranging from 7,500 plus units. We have students landing deals, as small as $10 million deals, as large as, $50 million deals, if not more. So it's fantastic to see. It's great to see the mindset shift of some of the people that come in, on their first day, not knowing anything, to landing their first deal, sometimes 6 months, 12 months. So it's amazing to see and to have that impact, because it is life changing to them. So I've had the pleasure of writing a lot of the copy, the emails, the landing pages, and all that kind of stuff to bring people in, um, and working heavily on our podcast as well. So that's where I learned a lot but my focus didn't want to be in multifamily. I wanted to be more in that experiential hospitality.
Okay. So there's a lot to unpack here, and I already have two questions top of mind. So, first of all, what tactics do you see within marketing that converts students into mentorship programs the highest?
So what tactics? This one's
Mm.
this one's very it's a tough one
Mhm.
because we're creating new tactics,
Mm.
and then we're A/B testing them. And for those who don't know about A/B testing, essentially, you know you create one particular campaign and you
Mm.
duplicate it and you make one that looks almost just like it. You just change a few words around maybe, and you test them. You see which one works the best. Um, but as far as tactics go, I mean, we're really offering the opportunity for to launch and or scale their real estate portfolios. Um, so the tactics, I don't know. It's tough to say which tactics because almost we use all of them. It's really depending on who the audience is, um, and what we're trying to say. If it's we want you to come check out our event, our preview event where we tell you about, uh, you know, uh, the mentorship, there's a journey that these people go through within these
Mhm.
various marketing funnels. So there's different tactics at different parts of the funnel. You know, it's like if it's your first time ever hearing about us, well, welcome. It's a welcome. We're invited here. I want to teach you this. I want to I want to give you all of my knowledge that I can within 90 minutes or within this email. But everything you want to know about multifamily real estate and leaving you wanting more, right? Taking the next step. And then depending where
Mm.
you are in the journey will depend on how we're speaking to you, right? So it really depends on where the audience is. And then, to follow up on that with audiences, you got to really know your audience. Because if you're just out here talking to, you can be shouting in a room 1,000 people, but only one person wants to talk to you, and that person's in the back. So might
Mm.
as well go talk to that one person, right? Rather than screaming, hoping that something sticks.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, who do you usually target brand new investors who don't even have, like 1 to 2 doors in their portfolio or 0 doors? Or do you target some seasoned investors who want to scale up in towards larger units?
I would say it's both.
Okay.
It's definitely both, because of commercial real estate. And I think a lot of your listeners will understand. And, I think just by following you, you do a great job of educating your audience, which I know that your audience,
Thank you.
um, will, they know what you're saying, right? And from there, it's wherever they are in their journey, and everybody is looking for that passive income, for that
Yep.
generational wealth, for that next step that's going to get them where they want to be, right?
Mm.
It's we're almost selling a dream rather than a mentorship. Um, so we're trying to hit everyone, it's
Yeah.
like but more so the education piece because then again going back to the audience, we're also educating investors who may not know, like they might be a venture capitalist, and it's a whole different asset class in itself, right?
Yep.
So then, you talk to these venture capitalists, you tell them about multifamily and everything they need to know about multifamily investing and why it's a safe and great investment. And maybe they might turn into a multifamily investor as well, depending on how they
Mm.
want to diversify their portfolio. Same thing goes
Okay.
for boutique hotel investing, you know, all that kind of stuff. So again, it kind of goes back to the audience and, where it's just like, who exactly are we talking to in the moment? It's tough to uh, throw a dart at a map and being like, okay, I hope that we land in Mexico, right? It's like, no, let's zero it in. Let's get a map of Mexico and see where in Mexico we truly want to go, where
Mm.
we truly want to do that. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. I love that. I love that. And that's very important. I think you touched up on a point that's something that you implement, of course, within your company. You said provide as much information and knowledge and resources as you can to then see if they would be interested in actually executing. So would you say that be safe to say that that's like a tactic that you use within marketing, just providing as much knowledge as you can?
Yeah, knowledge, also, in other words, depending how you frame it, right? Now we're getting
Mhm.
into copywriting could be
Uh-huh.
knowledge, could be called value.
Mm.
Um, it's depending on what you're saying, how you're saying it, because then, getting into the nitty-gritty, there's different methods that you use to in tactics, right? Within writing, writing hooks,
Mm.
writing, um, and I can't recite them off my memory, but there's various acronyms that you use to follow. You provide the hook, you provide the
Right.
problem, you provide the solution, and
Mm.
there's various uh, tactics that you use like that on the type of message that you want to share. And you could write 6 different messages, all saying the same thing, but written in a different method. And you can test those and see which one works the most, right? I think Alex Hermosi is a fantastic person to follow when it comes to writing copy and your campaigns and generating leads. And in his books, he does a really good job of saying how, like, using the word how to or you should, and like which one of those like impacts the mental psyche whenever you're listening or you're reading, and what really makes you, the viewer, want to take that next step.
I love that. That is gold information because I've been trying to test out my audience, right? Seeing what I do with social media. And I've posted videos before where, because I'm getting into hotel investing as well. And the evaluation with a commercial property is, it's a lot more, different than it is with smaller multifamily deals. NOI divided by cap equals value. So I've been trying to show informational videos with a whiteboard explaining that, and my views completely plummeted. Like, that was not, Instagram did not like that. But LinkedIn like that. So I wanted to know what tips you have for different platforms when it comes to marketing your real estate company or brand.
Yeah, I think the first tip, I think using your experience as an example, right? It's like Instagram is telling you something completely different. Uh, LinkedIn is telling you something completely different. I would say, start outlining the message that you want to share, and then creating certain ways to tell the story, the same story in different ways for different audiences. So like your LinkedIn audience is different. They like to see you teaching. They like to see you on the board. They want to see that, right? They're engaging with you, which is great because that gives you instant gratification of being like, wow, okay, I had 200 impressions on this and people liked it. You put that same thing on Instagram and it's a it's a it's a bust, right? It doesn't work. So maybe you got to say something different, and and that's where you have to understand your own audience. And maybe it's your existing audience on, because for me, like my Instagram following, they're not very interested in my boutique hotel investing efforts, right? Um, they're more interested in different things that I do. So then I talk to them differently. And I don't go on my social media a whole lot and talk like that, but I know what people like, what my friends like to see, as opposed to my LinkedIn. That's where I get to share all of my professional adventures, right?
Mm.
So I think really understanding what the platforms are for, um, and then also, you leveraging what I like to call the Cinnabon theory, which is you create a long form content, being your big giant cinnamon roll, and then you chop it up into 4. So let's say we have this podcast, right? It's going to be a nice 30-40 minute long podcast. It's your long form content. Throw it up on YouTube, put it on Spotify, wherever you put your long form pieces of content,
Mm.
and then from there you chop it up into 4. Now you have, say it's a 40-minute podcast. Now you got 10-minute, 4 10-minute episodes of the same content, but now you have 5 videos. You have your 40-minute and your 4 10-minute. Again, chop it up. Now you get your cine minis, right? You get your 30-second clips, you get your 15-second clips, your 5-second clips, and so on and so forth. But then now you have a whole plethora of, I don't know, you can have 100 clips of the same episode that you can use for different things. So like maybe those longer forms going to be better for YouTube, probably better for LinkedIn. All the short forms going to be better for TikToks, your Instagrams, Facebooks, etc. So yeah, before I get too lost in the sauce, I'll let you ask your next question.
I love this. I've been uploading all this information into my brain. I know the listeners are gonna love this. I do have a lot of connections with hotel owners and other investors who just don't get the marketing, and that's their biggest struggle, especially when it comes to boutique hotel ownership, which we're gonna be on our next topic. So this is gold for me, for them, and even for yourself to come back to and be like, all right, how am I gonna market my boutique hotel? But my next question is, so you work with apartment buildings. You are into the long-term strategy multifamily space. After working and seeing the returns that these students are getting, what made you decide, hey, instead of owning apartment buildings, I want to own a boutique hotel?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, multifamily investing is a great asset. It's great. The returns can be great. I mean, it's a great community that we have there. It's a small community within the states, you know.
Definitely safe too. I know that
Yeah,
it's
very
safer for
safe.
sure.
It is definitely safer, you know. It's in the analogy of you have one single family versus 100 unit apartment
Mm-hmm.
complex. Well, if you have one person move out of your single family home, well, now you have your only asset is vacant, and now you got to figure out
Mm-hmm.
how to pay the mortgage or whatever it is. Then you have your apartment, and you have one person move out. You have 99, uh, tenants still paying rent, right? So safer in that sense, yeah. Um, and a little bit more streamlined. And the bigger you get, the easier it gets because there's teams and there's other people in place. You have your property managers. There's a little bit more hands off, so it's a little bit more passive, especially for the investor or the limited partner. General partner, you're a little bit more hands on. You have to ensure that the returns are hitting the mark, so that way your client, the LPs, are getting their investment right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, and the way, about 2 years ago, whenever we really got into the boutique hotel side of things, we kind of saw how, you know, the whole goal is to value add, renovate, whatever, raise rents, get
Mm-hmm.
out. Well, it's tough. It's tough for people today to raise their rent, whether it be $50 or $100 or $1,000, whatever it may be. But, I think for the common person living in an apartment, you raise their rent, it's tough. And there's an argument that I've heard before too that it you can't look at it that way, which I understand. Like you can't have that mindset towards it because you're enhancing the quality of life, so you pay more for the quality of life. But same thing, I think, like for me, getting to the answer to your question, I didn't want to be driving the value by raising rents on people, I'd rather provide an experience. For example, right now, a hot market for me is Aparadon in Guatemala. It's a sleepy surf town, and the secret's out. Now I'm going to share the secret, but there's a wave there that's world class, and a lot of surfers are going there. And I'd rather have people choose to come and have that experience, provide that experience, and feed them through let's say we might have a restaurant, or we can do retreats, or we can do that kind of thing, where it's doing what I want to do with my loved ones who I also work with, um, and you know, driving value that way. And that's what really gets me going, and I think what really gets hospitality uh, hospitality investors like excited, right? Because now it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, of course I want to go to the beach and go surfing, and to come stay in my hotel, whatever. So there's actually, I got to meet the guys. They call themselves the hostel guys. They run House It Hostels in Hawaii, and they were named the 2025 best uh, like small hostel in the world by hostelworld.com, which is huge. It's a huge accolade to win, right? And the way that they said it is that hospitality is the passionate asset class of the real estate world. I was like, well, that's definitely true, because you have to have put in passion to create the experience that make people want to go to your location.
Love it. And that's That's so true. I can definitely see, because some people even invest in hospitality as like, I've seen it as not only something to have a full-time job or replace your income for, but also it's a passion project. A lot of investors say, hey, I want to invest in hotels because it's a passion project. It's just something they want to do. So I find that really, really cool as well, because I come from the long-term buy and hold rentals world. And I was also like, should I get a multifamily? Like, I'm used to it, I know it. But at the same time, I really like the hospitality asset and asset class and providing people an experience and just making them happy. I love to see my tenants happy. Like, if my tenants are happy, I'm happy. I want them to feel at home. So I would want to do the same experience, but with a boutique hotel. Now, I saw that you specialized in, when you came to your boutique firm, the luxury and eco space. So what drove you towards that?
Yeah, I mean, the luxury and the eco space, I'm going to speak specifically in Guatemala.
Okay.
It's a lot of the places that, a lot of the opportunities that are presenting themselves are already lined up to be of that luxury style, right? Um, as well as the ecotourism. That's already like those are the assets that are available. I'll find some projects, and I'll find pictures. I'll go to them, and they're some of the most beautiful things in the world, right? Taking photos and videos of them, and my friends are like, "What? How did you do that? How did you even find that?" It's like just like you find a normal deal in the States, you Google it, right? Or you use your tools to find the deal source. But so that's one aspect. The other aspect is listening to the market, listening to what the world is telling us, right? And what the world is telling us is that experiential hospitality,
Mm-hmm.
eco hospitality, luxury hospitality, those that is what's growing, you know, and that is what the people want. And it's almost what
Yeah.
they expect when they go to these Latin American countries
Mm-hmm.
because it's usually what's there. Of course, you have things that are priced higher as far as the ADR goes, um, and the things that are priced lower. Another thing that really made me understand more is that I have an aunt. She has an 8-unit Airbnb, um, currently running as an Airbnb. It's kind of one of those generational shifts going on there, where she's had it for 30 years, and she's like, with the growing wave of technology and has been, she's starting to seek out help to take her property to the next level. So it's not just an Airbnb. However, I bring that up because she wants to she wants to be a very private type of experience, um, and a very luxurious experience. So her ADR, she wants to make ensure that it stays higher. And
Yeah.
I'm from New Orleans, and there's a fantastic boutique hotel scene here. There's so many of them. I implore all boutique hotel investors, yourself, I want you to come here so that we can go to these places. I often go ride my bike and go work at these, at the coffee shops or whatever, just in the hotels because they're so cool, right? So, and they're more on the luxurious side of things. So it's kind of like you are what your environment. And that's
Yeah.
what my environment was this luxury hospitality, ecotourism, especially when I go to Guatemala. So that's what I see. That's what I want. That's what I want to do.
That's awesome. I would love to go to New Orleans. I've always wanted to go try the beignets. It's just, and jazz. Like, it just seems like such a lovely place. So I've always wanted to go. Now let's talk about. You said that Guatemala real estate. I don't know. I can't really say because it's easy to find, right? Or whatever. You could do a Google search. But I have looked at hotels and hospitality projects for myself in Puerto Rico, in Costa Rica. And the difficulty there is finding the properties because a lot of them don't even have an address. It's like coordinates. So
Yeah.
I don't know, is it the same in Guatemala?
Yeah, it is.
And how do you find these random coordinates with hidden gems?
Well, for me, like I had I go here. In the past 12 months, I spent 8 weeks
Mhm.
in Guate, right? So, and I go to the same areas. So I have a bit of a local, almost like boots on the ground type of understanding. I have
Nice.
a lot of family there. So I have a good also just boots on the ground who are there. Um,
Amazing.
However, of course, it's just like, any other real estate, when you're deal sourcing, you got to create those relationship with the brokers, right?
Mm.
You got to find that broker that you trust. Um, as we talked about right before, my Spanish is all right. You know, um, I can get myself food, I can get myself around, and I like to listen to the music, and I'm still learning more. But as far as coming to have a business conversation in Spanish, and one thing you said to me was, make sure you learn Spanish so you don't get taken advantage of. Very true, right? So same thing. You got to find those brokers that you trust who are going to have access and will bring you there, to find those beautiful projects. But we've been able to find, quite a handful of amazing opportunities as far as hotels go. Um, through those broker relations, but also, kind of going in depth. And at this time that we are finding projects in Costa Rica, we were finding a lot, you know, working, searching deeply. And my partners at the time, they were very interested in Santa Teresa. So just like any other, you got to hyper focus on your markets, right? It's like you say Costa Rica. Well, Costa Rica is massive. What
Yeah.
part? East Coast, West Coast? On the West Coast, which city? Which
Tamarindo,
town?
Brasilito,
Right.
Jaco.
So it's like yeah. So focus on one, go all in, learn it. Why? Because a lot of the times, because your customers are going to be tourists, ideally.
Yeah,
Uh, so whenever they go to these places, for example, let's take Costa Rica, for example. I'm going to go to Santa Teresa to surf. I'm probably not going to leave Santa Teresa. I've done my research
yeah.
on it, and that's where I'm going to stay. So I don't need to be going all over because other than that, I'm going to go into the jungle. So same thing. As an investor, hyper focus on that specific town that you want to invest in. And then the other thing that I'll add to that is a big challenge with these Latin American countries. Um, and it's not just Latin America, but they have certain laws, almost like land leases on particular properties that are closer to the coastal areas. In Guatemala, it's called OCRET, OCRET, is the acronym. And basically what that is just, it's a 30-year land lease. So you don't actually own the real estate. Um, so
Mm.
it's more of you're purchasing either the land or the property. For this instance, there's one that I'm looking at. It's 6-unit hotel. A hotel is bought there, but they're selling the lease, and you could renew it, but you don't own the real estate. So very unique, very interesting, and something to be very clearly aware of. And every country, I don't want to say every country, but most countries have their own version of that. Same thing in in England and other places like that. So that's something to be aware of.
Wow, that is very important. And you did bring up a very important point as well regarding speaking to brokers and really getting a broker in the area. Because when I was talking to a broker in Puerto Rico, we all know the famous Puerto Rico area, San Juan, um, what's another one? Barceloneta. But the hotel that I looked at was in Aguadilla. So I would just call brokers, brokers, brokers. And apparently Aguadilla is on the opposite side of San Juan, which is, damn, should I even invest there? And then I find out with these brokers, hey, yeah, I have a rental property in Aguadilla. Yeah, all the tourists go there. Oh, it's a great surfer town. And from that information, I knew, okay, you know what? This is a good area. Now, even speaking to brokers that speak English, because in Latin America, if they know you're American, they immediately think you have money. That's anytime. They're like, oh, este tiene plata, basically. And they're going to overcharge you. So you need to create those close relationships. And I'm so happy that you told me that your family lives there, because that way, even if I speak English, you can't play me, because I know exactly what this price is worth. I know what this land is worth, and you have to give me a fair price. So definitely you have to stand your ground in that instance. So I love, love, love that you brought that up. That's very, very important when investing internationally. Even though Puerto Rico is not international, it's outside of the US, and it has as a territory its own rules and regulations. What I wanted to talk about now is financing. It's going to be very different outside of the States than in Guatemala. So how does the financing work? Do you have to pay it all cash?
Um, I mean, similar. I say it is different,
Mm.
and it's challenging because I'm currently living in New Orleans, right? And whenever we're we go to networking meetups or, real estate meetups or whatever it may be, as we normally do as American real estate investors, we can usually find an investor for, a project in the next county, the next parish, or, in the next state or whatever it is, because you meet that investor quite easily. Now, when you tell someone that you're investing, at least, and I don't want to say it for everyone, but for me, when I'm investing in Guate, it's really hard to find that investors who's even, they're like, oh wow, that's cool, that's amazing, but I don't want to do that. I'm an American investor. I want to invest in American assets. I get that, the tax benefits, tax reasons. So one from the financing piece of like with investors, it's difficult. And what I'm understanding as far as really hyper focusing in Guate is I need to be a better educator on
Mm.
Guate specifically, because a lot of people that I meet, the only thing they know about Guate is whatever I tell them. I'm their closest connection. Other than that, they may see a video here and there, but they don't ever look there. But you do have banks there that could finance it. The Some of the terms are a little bit ridiculous. You can syndicate it. Um, I mean, as one of my mentors say, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. It's just which way you're gonna skin it this time, and what's gonna work. I was working on a deal. I'll give you an example on a place called Laguna Lodge, which I hope is still there because I really want it. It's beautiful, and it's in one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's where I thought I would always retire, but seems like that time is coming closer to actually go spend a lot of time there, a lot of my life there, in the near future. But I met the owners. They were Australian. They had this beautiful hotel that they built themselves um, in Lake Atitlan. You could only get there by boat. You could see the volcanoes. It was amazing. And, I told them what my story and what I was trying to do. And they were like, yeah, okay, look, we can seller finance this for you. We need a 20% deposit, which would have been like 400K at the time. So my only challenge was getting 400K, right?
Yeah.
Um, which capital raising, not my strong suit, just because I haven't been able to do it, as effective as I want be. Because if I was good at it, I would have a property by now. But that was the terms. It's just like anywhere else, just like an American deal. It's just what's your negotiation skills, what's your risk tolerance as
Hmm.
well. And again, going back to the phrase of "there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat."
Love it. Love it. That makes a lot of sense. And seller financing, man, that's key with getting these large assets. I'm noticing as speaking to investors, you just gotta either raise the capital or man, hustle as much as you can to get that down payment.
That's right. That is right. I mean, that's the one thing I have learned through the various projects that we have. We've gone in and out of being under contract, submitting LOIs, is that you got to have the funds first. At least that's what I've learned. You can't go in
Mm,
there, submit an LOI, and then start raising. You got to have something in your pocket, whether it be from an investor, your own capital, whatever it is. At least, especially for these bigger projects, right? You got to put
right.
something down. And you got to have those partners that you can trust to go in with you on those type of things. So I'm actually I'm looking to move to Guate in hopefully about a year or so. That way I can expand my network and be a part of the various events that they have going on there. Because just like the States, we have, you and I, we first connected when I was over at Boutique Hotel Con that Blake Daly puts on, and you were somewhere else at another conference, and my company puts on a conference. Well, the same thing happens in Latin America. They have all kinds of conference. They have venture capital things going on. I think people sleep on Latin America sometimes or just don't have the knowledge, but they're doing things just as much, if not more,
Yeah.
than we are. You look at Panama City in Panama. Man, that city is high tech. It is the financial hub of Latin America. That's the next place that I would like to go and to seek investors, at least for these Latin American projects.
Yeah. No, even I would love to go to Costa Rica, but it's so expensive. I can't invest in my hometowns because of the government in both places. So that's another thing that you would need to inform your audience on because, the audience, South American government has become a lot more on the dictatorship side, which sucks, but then people don't know, like, hey, but we have a good government here in Guatemala, an investor-friendly government. Same thing with Costa Rica. Like, that's something very important to inform your audience on, because I don't know anything about Guatemala, if I'm being honest.
And it's tough to learn all the different things, right? Because I mean, I'm sure that you meet people like investors in Florida who don't know anything about investing in California when it's the
Right.
same country, but completely different places, right?
No, it's so
Uh,
true.
right. So I mean, it's the same thing. It's like I'm not going to fault you for not knowing anything about Guate because you've never taken a look. Um, but it is great. The government is good. It's solid. The economy is solid, and it's this is a part of it. It's an adventure that I want to take in my life. Even going as far as getting into agriculture and looking to import coffee and cacao, and it's kind of like asking you shall receive. I asked about coffee, and my family members, they delivered with, now having connections to all these different coffee farms and almost too much coffee that
Amazing.
I know what to do with. So I'm like, okay, I got it. Let me go back to the drawing board and figure it out. Um, so yeah, I mean, like you said, you have to inform your audience. Going back to the copywriting thing, what we said at the beginning of the podcast is really knowing your audience, knowing the message that you want to share, and mitigating that risk for any investment, no matter where, because even if I was, hyper focused in New Orleans, it's like a different country in itself.
Mm.
They work off an Napoleonic code here, which is, you know, that's something way different. And they have land leases here too. So it's like,
Man,
it's, yeah. And this is in the
in
States.
the
So,
States, yeah.
and if you hyper focus in the French Quarter, that's a whole nother podcast.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, this is so much value over here. So tell me about your vision then. What is your boutique hotel vision in Guatemala? Tell me a little bit about like what you want, the type of audience you're looking for, target demographic. I'm interested to know.
Yeah, so it's kind of changed a little bit. Where at first it was hotel comes first, and I'm learning that it's a little bit more difficult. Especially the real estate side of things, especially wanting to invest in a type of property where it's probably going to be a land lease type of deal instead of actually owning the real estate. So, um, I mentioned coffee. This year, I've always loved coffee, at least when I started drinking it. Um, and, knowing that Guatemala and Latin America has amazing coffee. So I wanted to take a leap forward and say, like, well, how could I bring coffee here? How could I bring that amazing coffee from Guate here to the States and provide it with roasters, for roasters? Um, well, we went there, we asked a few questions, we went and toured a few farms, and like the barrier to entry to starting a business that connects me with Guate a little bit more, that will force me to learn, I think the is going to be through coffee. So
Okay.
you ask in my 5-year plan, start with coffee, start seeing what other doors open from there, and I look at coffee not as my moneymaker, but more so that is my time to have a conversation. Because you have a conversation with someone over a cup of coffee, you're going to have at least a conversation throughout the duration of the cup of coffee, right? So then that could be with an investor. It could be with someone who's going to come to a retreat or something, which aligns within my whole entire plan here. We're going to start with coffee, educate them, the audience, your captivated audience on coffee and guate and the farming and the producing and all the different things that make the coffee go around and how that coffee got to your mug. Same thing when it evolves to cacao or water buffaloes or other type of things. And then if you want to go there, we can do that too. My partner and I, Christina, shout out, she's actually behind me, but she really wanted to host retreats. So we held our first retreat last year at my aunt's place and the lake. One of the most spiritual places in the world is a women's nervous system regulation retreat, and we can do that more, right? You scale that, retreats is a great way to generate revenue too. So in that, starting with these type of things, with it leading to that future hotel, wherever that's going to be, leading to more hotels and almost having like a chain of hotels within Guate and all the different beautiful places that are there is kind of like the goal. So that's where it's going to be. And I honestly don't see a hotel coming in my future until probably phase 3 or 4, which could be maybe year 3 or 4 from now. However, I'm 34, there's a lot of life to live, and you gotta keep going for it, because if I don't do it, someone else will. Um, so that's the kinda the long-term plan for now, um, and then we'll see where it goes. Um, but
Love that.
yeah, that's kind of the plan for now, and, it's working, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great idea. Shout out to Christina. What a great idea. In case she hears me, if she doesn't,
yeah.
it's okay. But the retreats are an amazing idea. And no, I love that 5-year plan. I love that you're structured and you are young. So you have time for risk and mitigating risk and learning as you do. Even if you're not going to get a hotel right now, but you're starting the business, okay, you can practice underwriting hotels. That way you just keep the skill. The skill is so important to just keep. That way you keep analyzing deals and then you never know when a hotel is going to come your way, right? As you're building the business. You never really know. Love that idea. Now, that we're ending shortly, I'm just going to ask you a few quick questions. Number one, what is your morning routine?
Morning routine, it's altering because I play Australian rules football, which is a mixture of, like, soccer, rugby, and hockey kinda mixed into one game. Go look it up, Australian rules football, take it a look, you can be like, "What's wrong with that guy? He's kinda crazy." A little bit, but I like to play ball. So the season's starting soon, which means my routine is gonna change soon in preparation physically, my physical vessel, waking up about 5 a.m., getting a workout in of some sort, you know, getting the breakfast in, then cracking on work. Have my W-2 work. I also have a marketing company on the side where I have one client, doing copywriting there. So ensuring that all those projects are complete. And that's the morning routine, really. I was going to go on the whole day, but yeah, it's just
Love it.
preparing myself.
Exactly, for the day. Love that. Any books that you recommend? I know you mentioned Alex Hormozy, but any specific favorite books that you have?
Yeah. Of course, if you're, I think for any person, Alex Ramones is a great person to read, to listen to, as far as generating leads, writing copy, enhancing your marketing
Mm,
muscles, I guess you could say. And but a book that has been really helpful to me is titled "The King, the Warrior, the Magician, and the Lover," and it's about moving from boy psychology into man psychology. It's about the character, the archetypes, the king, the warrior, musician, lover, and kind of going from there. So after reading that, which this is like a prompt for me to reread it,
mhm.
because you really understand how to go from being an immature male. I think it's equal to females too, but this one's specifically written for males. But
Okay.
to become that more mature self into one's higher being.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, William. I hope you have a great workout because I know you're about to go to the gym. So I hope you have a great workout. I really appreciate you and all of this knowledge that you provided in today's podcast. Where can people learn a little bit more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, William Mussack. Feel free to reach out, and we can talk. We can talk coffee. We can talk Guate. We can talk New Orleans. We can talk sports. We can talk whatever you want, and we have a cup of coffee if you want, as well. And I mean, thank you so much for
Of
inviting me on
course.
the podcast. I love watching your story and your journey. I know that you're gonna get there. You are a hustler. Shout out to the name of the podcast. And again, just overall gratitude. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. I can't wait to see the amazing things that you're going to do. And hopefully we can invest together in Latin America.
I would love that.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.